You said your statement says you have just decided to break your silence. So why have you been silent all this time? Why you chose just this moment in particular? Because some people think, um, has it to do with the changes of administration in the West, in the U.S., for example, that you think the new administration might be putting the government in trouble. So your ally, or because the government is perceived to be your ally, so your alliance with the government, you're jumping off some kind of a ship in trouble. Is that why did you shoot this particular time?
Two reasons. One, the decision of the people of the South has come to an end last December. And therefore, this is the appropriate time when we have to unite with the people of the South on what they want to be done in their country. So that is the principal position. The timing is to unify our ranks as Southerners in this resolution of changing the government of our country, so that we usher in a government that will be brought by the people, for the people, and for the welfare of everybody. That's one. Number two, we have seen that this government in place is not unified government. They don't meet face to face. They are scrambling for resources and fighting within their own camps. So they are not moving forward for the welfare and peace in the South. And therefore they will lead again into more war, because each is trying to grab for himself and his group, militarily and politically. So they will not take us to peace. They are going to land us in more trouble. But regarding what you are saying about the Western country, we don't want our country to be like Iraq. You remember what happened to Iraq and to Saddam Hussein. This can happen to our people because they have been sanctioned by the international community and headed by the United States. We have been sanctioned and we have been given army embargo, and our leaders have been even given travel ban. And once this thing is allowed to continue, it is the country and the people that will suffer. And therefore, to prevent this kind to happen, we want to support the will of the people of South Sudan, that we should not be like Libya. And you know how Gaddafi was killed, and how Libya is disintegrated into three governments, and not understanding that development that was there during Saddam Hussein time, during Gaddafi time, is gone forever. And we don't want also our people being, again, put to a situation where we become like Rwanda, where Hutus and Tutsi kill
Tutsis,
themselves.
yes, yes.
And so this government is not going to control the situation of Rwanda like Rwanda. It's not going to. It's not controlling. It's more agitating to get into tribal more conflict. So we think that we have to come in to support the nation dialogue, which should improve the life and welfare of our people and our country.
So from your answer, the trigger for your recent uh, statement and your recent new position is the resolutions of the people of South Sudan embedded in the national dialogue. Am I correct there?
That's right. This national dialogue was really, we were uniting our people, as I said earlier, from the grassroots,
Yes.
explaining to our people that we are not fighting over anything as communities. Let us unite, and let the leaders be brought to their senses that they are accountable to the people. And therefore, we as communities should come together, and this is what has happened. Now we have, as I told you, we have talked with the Nuers, with the Equatorians, with Fertit, to let that be achieved, the unity of the people of South Sudan to be achieved. Now the government and the power-hungry people are dividing us, and we should not allow that as people. We should see what is the best way that God has brought us together into one South Sudan, and how we can prevent that fragmentation to be further. So we think we are going to be united according to our discussion in the national dialogue, and have a way forward by choosing people who will govern and be accountable to their constituencies, not those who are imposed. By the way, let me mention important thing. We are seeing the formation of the national legislature to be another dangerous step. Is a recipe for a vote of no confidence in the president, and therefore the powers that have been brought in to form the National Assembly are people who do not come from constituency. They are people who are nominated by their factions, by their ethnic groups, who are militarized, and to a point of having 550 members in the National Assembly whose majority are opposed to Salva Kiir. And if they vote Salva Kiir tomorrow through impeachment, Salva Kiir will also fight, and we have trouble. So the best thing is to preempt all these things and follow the position of the National Assembly, National Dialogue, and bring this agreement to an end, because this agreement has brought in a parliament that is controlled by the opposition groups, and they have no national agenda. They are not mandated by the people of the South. And that's why the number has gone up from 300 to 550, has compromised. So this agreement is an agreement brought by numbers and not by representation. So you go into the parliament because of your numbers. You go into the presidency because of your numbers. You go into national army because of your numbers. That cannot be a way we can rule this country.
Okay. Your answers, inspired another one last question, and then I will hand over to Marwan. It's twofold, this question. Were you unanimous in your decision to make this request to the government as Jieeng Council of Elders? Were you all united in that? And also, by talking like this, and you are in Juba, do you think are you safe, or is there any fear, for example, from because what you are saying is like the government cannot be happy with what you are saying, I guess. So how is the situation now with you guys, with you as a council of elders? Were you united in your resolve to support the national dialogue resolution? Were you united in that position? And number two, how safe are you now in Juba? I think some of you are in Juba, right? Many of you are
Almost,
in Juba. Huh?
almost all of us are in Juba.
Okay.
Almost all
Okay.
of us are in Juba, except Molana Ambrose Rain, who is sick in Khartoum, but the rest of us are in Juba.
And then Dr. Aldo.
Dr. Aldo is with us in Juba.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I would say we were absolutely unanimous in our decision as Council of Jieeng Elders.
Yes.
We were unanimous in our decision. And that's why that document was signed by representatives of these 5 communities. We would have signed it, but we maintain what you have just mentioned. Do we endanger lives of other people, of other members who are younger than us? So we said we let it be signed by a number of.
So the younger you are more in danger than the older.
Yes, we don't want to.
Okay.
So we don't want to endanger the younger intellectuals and elders who are with us. But the decision was unanimous. And that's one. Number two, we feel that we are safe we are not endangering the lives of anybody among the leaders. We want them to be more safer than anything than what they are doing now. If we continue in this system, the Western world, the region, will come on us, and we will end up in a situation like that of Iraq. Our leaders will end up like those of Iraq, those of Libya, and will not be a good thing. And our country will end up like being in like the situation in Congo and the situation we was in Rwanda, the massacre, the genocide. So we don't want this situation to be reached by our country, and therefore we are saving our leaders from being brutalized by foreign interests. Our country is very rich, and that is crumbled by international and regional bodies to take over our resources. So if we allow our leaders to reach that stage, they will be also victimized, and our country will be taken over by foreign powers. And this is what we don't think that is the right thing. So we are saving our leaders from that mess. And therefore, we think that our leaders cannot turn against us when we are advising them to take a better route than to endanger their own lives. And their history will become very bad. And legacy cannot be a right one. So we are saving them as well as saving ourselves. So we think that we are safe in our country. But let me say this: if anybody thinks that he can harm us, I assure you, the people of the South will not allow them to do that. They can kill us, they can arrest us, but the people of the South are sympathetic with the situation they are in. Can you believe that $100 is 60,000 SSP, South Sudanese pound? And who can afford that? No one is being paid 60,000. The highest of the country being paid is like the president is 15,000. The MPs are paid 12,000 or 11,000. The generals in the army are paid not more than 8,000, and the people and the soldiers are paid 1,000. So
US dollars,
SSP.
SSP.
Okay. Who can afford that? So everybody is suffering, and we want a way out of this crisis, economic collapse. Our country economically has collapsed, and our people are having no education, no health, no agriculture, no development. So who can continue to bear that kind of situation? So if they kill us as elders, our time is over, and we want somebody to kill us so that we also make a name.
Okay. I think I will stop here, and I will hand over to Marwan if he has any questions. Thank you very much for your comprehensive answers. I really appreciate it. So it's over to you, Marwan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, my cousin Mabur, for this opportunity. Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome, Uncle Joshua. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And just listening to what you are saying in the end, because I'm not aware of what's been said earlier. I'm only aware of what you've just said now. I don't want us to go back, obviously, but there is so much in what you've said now to let us continue. So the peace agreement was negotiated for a long time, as we all know, from when the war started in 2013. Immediately that time, people went to Addis to negotiate. So we've been negotiating for all these years since the war started. We're going to the 8th year now. So that's a very long time, and still we don't have a working agreement. This agreement is the best we have, and it has a roadmap. And this roadmap is not good for us. It's not good for the South Sudanese because, as you said, it's brought men with guns to control, not people we have mandated to rule over us. But the agreement is not saying that these people will rule us forever, these people who have not been mandated. They are going to rule us in the interim period. And during this interim period, they have a duty, they have things to do. like registering the political parties, like revising the constitution, like uniting the army, and then arrange for elections. As you said, these things are not happening because if we were to be honest with ourselves, these groups have not forgiven each other. Everybody is still jostling for the lion's share. So the war hasn't finished. It's just they're not shooting each other, but they're still fighting. So what you want, what the National Dialogue wants, what the Jieeng Council of Elders want, what the South Sudanese public want now is about the same thing. Is we want this interim period to finish just as it was described in the agreement, so that we have an election in the end, which obviously, hopefully, is a fair election, supervised by an external party that we can all trust. But that is not happening. And that's why the National Dialogue leadership came out, and that's why you guys came out. Now, these are men fighting amongst each other with weapons. What is our chance for them to listen to us? What is our chance that they are going to heed the call now, in order to open the gates for the elections?
Thank you, Nasib. Nice to see you and hear you again after a long time.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your coming in, and you have understood everything that you are asking. I don't think that I have a better description than what you have said. That the team that has been brought in by the mediators, they don't have a political will to implement this agreement faithfully and seriously to the end, so that we can achieve what the people want and what the mediators had envisioned, namely the smooth running election, transparent, credible, and supervised by a neutral body. I don't think that they have the political will to implement the agreement. As I speak in Juba, no one is talking to one another among these 6 leaders, plus their supporters. And I have said it before, the country is the government is divided into 6 clusters, of which President Salva Kiir has no power over them to dismiss those who have been brought by any of the 5 vice presidents, because that one is a taboo, that this is my quota, this is my cluster, these are my people, you have no power over them. So that if you don't have one vision, trust among yourselves, you cannot continue to implement that agreement, which you think is the only opportunity for us to see the light tomorrow in the tunnel. For us, those who have observed it and are living in it, there's no goodwill on the part of this government to be implemented. As I said earlier, everyone is trying to grab power and resources, and no one was brought in to say, let me go back to my constituency where I came from. They came through, Riek did not come through the will of the people. Abdel Baki did not come through the will of the people. Whoever like Diamato, you go to Taban, you go to Rebecca, name them. No one has been brought in by a constituency that will be ready to go back to. So there is no will to implement this agreement. And we think that it is, this agreement is being extended and being used for empowerment so that they can trigger another crisis tomorrow.
Thank you. So that's really a grim picture. So my question again is, so the National Dialogue has come out now, the National Dialogue leadership, and the Jieeng Council of Leaders has come out as well, to ask specifically for the leadership, for our two main leaders, the president, the first vice president, to step aside in order to save the country. What is the chance of them listening to us? They fought each other for 7 years. No side had, a conclusive victory. The international community has been leaning on us. People have been pleading with us. So now, what is the chance of them listening to the national dialogue and Jieeng Council of Leaders when they have not listened to all these other people?
Well, I don't think I have an answer, honestly. It is the conscience of each person, each of them, that will guide him or her to say, let me respond to the will of the people, to the interest of the people, to the safety of the people. But as far as the situation is concerned now, I don't think that somebody is looking back and say that these are my people. Let me listen to them. Okay. We are not in a position to impose anything on them. But we have been asking the regional community and the national community to intervene and bring about some suggestions. But let me also say one unfortunate situation. When people were in Addis Ababa after 2016, when the 2018 agreement was negotiated, you remember the IGAD, the AU, and the UN, or international community, were overwhelmed by the situation of our people. And they said, they abandoned us, literally, and said, who knows these people well that can prevent them from killing themselves? Khartoum took advantage of it and said, I know them, I have governed them, and they were governed through us by the British and the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan. We can control them. They did not kill themselves in this way when we were in power. So Khartoum took the advantage and said, I will guarantee this agreement. And that is a serious situation. Uganda seconded, said, I will guarantee this agreement. And if you remember, Uganda was fighting in support of Salva Kiir alongside. Khartoum was in support of Riek Machar and fighting Salva. So our country is a sort of being put in trusteeship of the two countries. God forbid, if they don't break this country into two parts, where Uganda will take over Equatoria and Khartoum will take over Bahr Ghazal and Upper Nile with their resources, then we are lucky. But otherwise, that grim situation is looming on us, and we are trying to let it be prevented by all means. That we should not allow the two grantors to fight over when we are helpless. We have been given embargo. We have been given sanctions. We have no economy. Our economy has collapsed. So how do we prevent ourselves from being taken over by anybody? We cannot do that militarily. Our own communities are fighting one another. So they will not come to say, listen or respond to a call by anybody, like when John Garang went to the bush with his colleagues and called upon the people to join them to fight for a common goal, a common interest. No one will do that. You see how my in-laws in Rumbek have been fighting one another. You have seen how our people in Tonj have been fighting one another. You have seen how people have been fighting one another in Warab, Pug and Wok. You have seen how Bor and Murle have been fighting one another. Nuez and Murle fighting one another. Chiluks and Padang fighting one another. Who will be that champion that will be listened to? We have no people at the national level that can be respected and be heard. So we are completely worried, and we are seeing this coming on us in our face. As we say, if you read our statement, let us face it all. It is what we are facing, that our situation is very gloomy, and we must come to our senses and say, if our leaders, the current leaders, have any sympathy with the people, they will listen. But if they close their conscience, then we will continue and have a more miserable country than ever on earth.
That's really a grim picture. This idea that South Sudan could be split by Khartoum taking Barghazal and taking Upper Nile, and Uganda taking Equatoria. That really looks like a real possibility now. The question is, are Kir and Riek so intransigent in their animosity to each other to the extent that they could let South Sudan go to that fate? We do not know that. What I was going to have to say is now, where is the moral center ground in South Sudan? You are saying how you, the elder members in the JCE, took it upon yourself to sign so that you'd be less at risk. You know, South Sudan still has a few things that they still respect, like, you know, maybe they refrain from bullying elderly men, you know. So there's still some standard there. Can we not exploit that? Is it not now the chance, Uncle Joshua, to rise above our divisions, and for the Jieeng Council of Elders, which represents the biggest bloc, the biggest ethnic bloc in South Sudan? I know you have not been mandated, but regardless of that, I think you are still recognized as somehow, you know, people still perceive you as the leaders of the Jieeng community. Could you not reach out to the Equatorians, to the Nuer, to the Shilluk, and to the Murle, and to the Fertit, all these constituencies that have been so divided, and say, look, everything that we ever stood for, everything that we fought for all our years to become independent from the North Sudanese is now going to be lost? Could we not just forget all our divisions, come together as the elders of this country, as the moral center ground of this country, create our new leadership, which is a moral civil society leadership, which has no political ambition, no relationship with any leadership, abandon our ethnic groupings, and then now talk in one voice for our leaders, to our young people, to Riek Machar, to Kir Mayardit, to everybody else, that, you know, this is what we have decided. We must unite our country. We must go forward. What's the chance of that happening, especially from the JCE point? Could you not lead that?
Thank you. I've said this earlier, that we have tried to reach out as much as we could. We met with the Equatorians and we heard that call. We met with the Nuers, both inside and outside the country. And we told them that wish. And we have signed some documents with them that we are, and I will give your Marial, your representative here, I will give him a document attesting to that. We have met with the Zandes people, Zande community, and we have that document to attesting to that. We have made those calls. But what happened? What happened? The political hawks have never allowed their community leaders to act on their own to join us. The women call upon all the leaders and the communities, and we met in Yakoron in a big conference of 5 days, and we were unanimous on that. But no one has heeded to the call of the women, to the call of the elders, up to now. And I don't think that the true leaders have seen the need to humble themselves, to talk to one another, heart to heart, man to man, and see the misery that has befallen their country, and to be sympathetic to their grandchildren to live in a happy country. I don't think that they have reached out to one another and ready to do that. Up to now, I have not sensed that, and I have talked to them, and each of them is towing his own line, agitating for more serious crisis than what we expect. That's why we have come out at this time to say, let transition be shortened. Let the mediators come up to see what we are seeing, a gloomy picture of another war, which the country cannot afford. And everybody is hungry. Everybody is dying of disease. Everybody is miserable in the country. And yet, there's no any light in the tunnel through this agreement. For us, we have concluded that this agreement is worse than 2015 agreement, and we have examined it in our community, Jieeng community, at all our levels, including those who are adamant in power, and they see the point. But what do? Is to save one own neck. I think that what is left, to say the least. No one is interested in trying to say, let us be above ourselves. Today, if they declare, if the leaders, Riek and President Salva, if they declare that we are not going to contest in the next election, graciously the people of the South will dance on the streets and say, okay, we will have peace at the end of the interim period. And that election will be supervised by a neutral body, and the country will go back. And if they declare we are not going to sponsor any militias to support us, the whole country will be on the streets dancing. But has anybody decided that way? No. Instead, engaging in recruiting more militias. And that is unfortunate. I'm sorry to tell you all these facts, but I'm living with the situation. And I cannot avoid telling you that unless the international and regional community abandon their weaknesses and try to stand by the people of South Sudan. And you know, everybody has been saying we are with people of South Sudan against the leaders, but the leaders are not responding to be with the people of South Sudan. If you come to Juba today, the bottle of water, this bottle of water is 200 SSP. Who can afford it? No one can afford it. So people are drinking from the water brought from the river by the Somalis, by the Eritreans, by Ethiopians, in tanks. Water which is not purified. And who can afford to buy a bottle of water with 200 pounds? And 200 pounds cannot buy you anything in Juba. Thank you.
It's a dreadful situation, Uncle, for you to put the picture that the experiment of independent South Sudan might just be lost now because we cannot lead our country.
Yeah, that's true. We are praying and we are working that it should not slip again into war. But how to prevent it is our dilemma. So we are trying to put out material as much as possible. In the previous material, people have criticized us that we have blamed the government and we have backed away from supporting the government. So the next document, we hope it will be out soon, is going to indicate how, what I'm saying, how the other groups have worked against the peace agreement, so that we have the whole picture, who is doing what for the welfare of the people of the South. And after that, we hope we will have a way forward. That way forward is what I have indicated in talking to you, that it should be the international community, the regional community, to forbear, exert pressure on the leaders so that we have a way forward through elections. And that the elections framework will be worked out so that we end up smoothly without the guns in the hands of many people, so that politicians can go and campaign while we don't have guns with the public. And I can tell you now, the government is being challenged by civilians who have more stronger arms than the government. And the government has no strong army that can deal with the rebellions or insurgency. So we are in a real crisis. Our country is not that hopeful, but we pray that something miraculous will happen. Thank you very much for coming to interview me.
Thank you very much. Now I'll hand over back to Honourable Chadar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mawen, and thank you, Uncle. My last question is your recent position has it improved? Has it improved the attitude of people towards you? Because a lot of blame was heaped on you, and so do you think your last position has improved your the attitude of people towards you, especially the non-Dinkas? And what was the response of the government supporters to your new position?
I think our position, from the view of other opponents, is summarized by Dr. Lama Call, that even if they have come out late, is better than never.
Never.
They're not coming out at all.
Okay.
So that is the position of many people.
Okay.
And I think they see the situation, and the way we have argued that we have been reaching out to other communities has been our objective, to unite the opinion of the people of South so that we have cohesion, social cohesion. And if there will be leaders who can rise against or above the tribal sentiment, the better. As to the government, we don't know what the government response is. We have been interviewed by the government authorities, and we have said what we have just said. Namely, we are supporting the stand of the people of the South so that the country remains united. And if the country is going to be reunited, we think that elections is going to be the way forward. And if the leaders, current leaders, can be humane enough, then they can respond to the call of the people that don't continue the fight, and listen to the voice, and or be sympathetic to the desperate situation the country is in. So we don't know. We know for sure that the government has been concerned, that we have been critical of the government, but we are saying yes, we have to be critical with the government because it's the only one that has power now. And if the government of the day of President Salva can have a sympathetic look at the situation and can lead the way to saying enough is enough, let us turn to the other page and cement our relations and work, let our people go for peaceful elections. That can be a great achievement on the part of Salva, and his legacy will go in record, and we will protect him and never to let him down in respecting his legacy of having brought the people to referendum, and people elected him, and people have made him to raise the flag. There's nothing more greater than what he has done by letting the people of the South be independent, and letting the people of the South be independent like other countries. So if even he declines now to say he will not run for elections, people of the South will praise him and will carry him above their heads and shoulders.
Okay. Thank you, Uncle. I think we have come to the conclusion of our interview. If Mawan has no more questions, Mawan, do you have any final comment before we conclude?
No.
We close.
I think Uncle Joshua
Yeah.
has summarized everything very well.
Thank you, Uncle Joshua. It has been an honor to have you on RBC TV, and appreciate your time. We've been chatting around now for about almost close to 2 hours, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I wish South Sudan a prosperous future, and improvement and progress in democracy and in good management. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
David, and wish you all the best, and God bless you.